Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm looking at 1862, the train game. Disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this one. I'm generally a fan of train and route-laying games, going back to Steam and Age of Steam, and more recently with Imperial, but how does this more complex train game, specifically its solo mode, stack up to those? Let's find out and get to the list. So first, for my number 5, I'm going to talk about the pacing of the game through train purchases, and this is a mix-leaning con for me. And the big con side of things comes from the pacing feeling a little off. And what I mean by that is the AI, which is basically discarding these train cards that kind of act as the clock for the game, they move what I think is too quickly in the beginning of the game, but then the end of the game can kind of drag. But that being said, I will admit that on the positive side, the puzzle of when to buy your trains and which trains to buy, and predicting which tile the AI will flip to discard trains, the timer, and adjusting your purchases to it, that all works really well and gives you a nice little puzzle to deal with. Moving on to my number 4, it's a full-on con, unfortunately, and that is the stock market in the game. So one of the big things in the 18XX series, at least from what I gather, I haven't played any other ones, is the stock market, and kind of competing with other players to buy and sell stocks, drive up and down share prices, and I enjoy that kind of stuff in other economic games I've played. But the big problem here, specifically in the solo mode, is that instead of trying to get into the weeds of designing an AI that would kind of compete on stocks with you, which I admit would probably be very tough, instead they created like this weird kind of solitaire stock puzzle. And the one positive I'll say is that there is a bit of interesting puzzliness in how you move the stocks around to get to the ones you want. But besides that, it takes way too long to set up. It is very intimidating to look at. I mean, just look at the screen. What is all of this? And in the end, it feels totally divorced from the rest of the gameplay. Like, why am I playing Klondike Solitaire when I want to be playing a train game and buy and sell stocks on the market? But those negatives out of the way, my number 3 is related to the stocks, and it's a full-on pro, and that's the money management in the game, especially the running of your companies and choosing whether to pay out dividends or not, which is this huge choice in the game. Whenever you run your trains, your companies that you're running will make a certain amount of money, and you can either pay out dividends to the shareholders, to enrich yourself, but if you do that, you're making the company poorer. You might not be able to buy the trains you need to keep up with demand and keep the money rolling in. So there are some very tough choices with paying dividends or not, trying to massage your stock prices. All that stuff is great and really drives home the fun economic side of the game. And I've got another pro at number 2, the biggest one for the game, and that's the track laying and route building, which is this really wonderful puzzle of trying to get the tracks to fit in just the right way, especially with different companies which maybe can't share the tracks the way you want, and you have these different train types that benefit from different types of track laying, and I personally love this in train games, so I was an easy sell here, but it's really fun to just kind of plan out your routes and see your empire expand and grow bigger and deliver more and more. I enjoy all of that. But I am going to end on a con for my number 1, and that's the big fact that the game can just be very obtuse to play, especially for solo mode. And this is, I think, going to be the dividing line between 18XX players and others, because first of all, the rules aren't super well organized, and if you've played other 18XX games, I imagine it might be pretty easy to get into them, but as it was for me, the organization leaves a lot to be desired, examples are wrong, there are errata, it's just a little bit frustrating to learn the game. But on top of that, the actual play of the solo, for me, was not as fun as I would like. There is a ton of like little multiplication math you have to do to figure out share prices and whether the share value increases or decreases. If you have a calculator nearby, that might not be as annoying, but I was doing it all in my head, and tons of additions, so if you don't like math, don't apply here. And as much as I enjoyed the different train types for making the route delivery puzzle more interesting, at the same time, the slight variances in their rules and how they work just makes, again, the game a bit of a bear to get to the table and deal with. Overall, I think 1862 could be great for big train game fans, for big economic game fans, especially the fact that you can play it competitive and solo. I think it's one of the only games in the 18XX series that offers those two modes of play. But you might want to avoid this one if you don't enjoy math in your games, if you don't like pushing through some rules complexities. Or I think kind of the biggest point, if you're mainly getting this to play solo and you're expecting to get the full 18XX like stock trading experience, a lot of it feels like it's missing or rushed through or oversimplified in the solo play here, so I don't think it's the best look for the game. And hey, if you want to see me stumble my way through a full playthrough and not do very well at all, click the link that just popped up. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.